Hi everybody, Dacob here. Welcome back to the Fashion Bunker. Boy, oh boy, have we got breaking news regarding Chanel. This is very, very kind of scary for whoever out there is planning on selling, reselling, or selling on their prized possessions from Chanel, like your bag, your perfume, your mirrorlet, ya baglet. Not that I would never, This was a gift from my dad, so this one is very close to my heart, my little small double flap. But anyway, so do you remember a couple of weeks ago, we posted a video on my channel about the lawsuit that was gearing up, or that was actually ongoing already, between Chanel and What Goes Around Comes Around. What goes around comes around. Concession store, reseller, pre-loved. They're a small business. I think they have like three or four shops in the States, and but apparently their business was doing relatively well. And one of those shops, one of the What Goes Around Comes Around shops, was in a close proximity of a Chanel boutique. And since What Goes Around Comes Around sells pre-loved Chanel items for a slightly lower price than retail at Chanel, Chanel was not having it because they saw it as competition. Everything I say in this video is for entertainment purposes only, not rooted in truths or facts. Everything's alleged and just my opinion, and I'm not giving any legal advice because I ain't no lawyer, okay? We're just analyzing as consumers do, because we want to understand what's going on here. You know what I mean? So here is an article by ukfinance.yahoo.com. Subscribe to my channel while you're at it. Push the join button next to the subscription button. Become a member today. Gain access to extra perks. You can also join me on Patreon. Super Dacob, all spelled together there as well for extra perks. This video is being filmed live in front of a live virtual audience. I live stream several times a week, so come join the fun. Come join the chats. Hi, chat. The title of the article says, Chanel wins case against What Goes Around Comes Around. My jaw dropped because, first of all, the court case lasted really short. I was expecting a little bit more time. I didn't expect a verdict to arrive that soon. And apparently there was 4 accounts and Chanel won all 4. The jury gave everything to Chanel. And now, of course, they're going to go into the appeal. They're going to litigate some more. But the first round appears to have been won by Chanel. But you guys, there's so much shade in this article and in the transcripts. Oh my God, you're going to want to stick around for this because, oh my God, I have no words. I have no words. Listen, so basically you can go check out my first video where all the details are, given and described, like how Chanel did it, what they find wrong with What Goes Around Comes Around, what they're asking for, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so now, after weeks, and just weeks, of battling in a New York federal court, Chanel won its trademark infringement case against What Goes Around Comes Around. The jury voted unanimously on all 4 accounts in favor of the luxury fashion house. Now, you guys, what they were alleging, it's all here. What they were alleging, what they won, the type of dispute they were having, I kid you not, this is worse than any telenovela you have ever seen. Like, this goes deep. I was shocked. Okay, so let's cut to the chase immediately because I mean, we're talking here, first of all, jurors decided $4 million should be awarded for statutory damages in accordance with the Lanham Act. The counterfeiting law provides for a national system of trademark registration and protects the owner of a federally registered mark against the use of similar marks in if such use is likely to result in consumer confusion or if the dilution of a famous mark is likely to occur. So this is kind of the description of that law. In addition, non-statutory damages will be decided by Justice Louis Stanton, after both sides submit briefs. Chanel is expected to file the first brief, which is due in 30 days. So this story is going to continue. But here, you guys, Of course, the Chanel spokesperson said, we have deep gratitude for the justice system, for the jury, yada, yada, because obviously, they won. So, of course, they would be happy. So the spokesperson for Chanel says Chanel welcomes the ruling, which demonstrates Chanel's unwavering commitment to protecting consumers and its brand against all false association, trademark infringement, and counterfeiting and false advertising. Such infringements hurt consumers and harm the Chanel goodwill and brand because they are likely to confuse the public as to the nature of the Chanel branded items they are purchasing. Second-hand platforms, when they operate with transparency about the Chanel branded items they sell and cooperate with law enforcement and Chanel, can help in the fight against counterfeiting. This is what the Chanel statement said. Now, hear me out on this. I'm sick and tired of hearing these comments and conversations about these luxury brands fighting for us. I'm like, girl, you just want your money because you don't like the fact that what goes around comes around was earning. What are they alleging here? That they were earning in the course of how many years they earned, like, what was it, 60 million or 90 million bucks? Here. So they claimed that what goes around comes around sold $90 million worth of pre-owned Chanel products between 2016 and 2022. Chanel was like, hey, we want a piece of that pie, allegedly. But here's the thing. Here's the thing that is so shocking to me. Chanel is claiming that what goes around comes around with selling fakes. And how did they prove this? Okay. This is where my mind starts to get blown. They were saying that certain bags that were that they got from what goes around comes around had authenticity codes in them that correspond to a bunch of bags, Chanel bags, that were stolen from a Chanel factory in Italy. And we got the number. I mean, this is like, okay, you guys, like, hold on a minute. How come we didn't know about this earlier? Because, pardon me, I'm still coughing. I'm recovering from the flu. How did we not know about it? So I was shook because the numbers are insane. Throughout the trial, some key evidence was repeatedly referred to, such as 13 handbags that carried serial numbers, 13 handbags that they got from what goes around comes around, that were among, listen to the amount of bags stolen, that were among, are you ready for this? That were among the 30,000 plus bags that were stolen from the Renato Corti factory in Italy in 2012. And here we get the name of the factory that makes the Chanel bags in Italy. The Renato Corti factory in 2012 reported a theft of 30,000 plus Chanel bags. Now, hear me out. How can you report in one day a theft of 30,000 Chanel? How many bags were you producing, honey? This is a major chain production. If you, like this, report 30,000 bags stolen. First of all, super sketchy. 30,000 bags got stolen, honey? Or are you trying to tell us something else here? Read between the lines. I can't say everything out loud for you. You gotta also think a little here. Connect the dots. Okay? Another handbag that was sold by what goes around comes around carried a serial number that did not correlate with the description of the same number in Chanel's in-house Orly software system. Now we get the name of the system that they use to authenticate their bags. This lawsuit is just quality control and distribution of its handbags. Oh my God, I'm so giddy when I read this out. Okay. Ooh, thumb up this video. This is a good one. Okay. So, I mean, we'll go. Other contested evidence were 51 handbags that carried serial numbers, listen to this, you guys, that had been voided by Chanel following the 2012 theft from the factory. What are you saying here, Chanel? That because the bags were stolen from the factory, you voided them? How do you know the numbers? How can you claim that the numbers are from the numbers that were stolen if you voided them? Why did you delete the numbers? Why did you not keep the numbers? You must have kept the numbers if you know that these serial numbers correspond to the stolen bags. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? Both sides clashed about 779 non-fashion Chanel items, such as makeup trays, mirrors, tissue boxes that what goes around comes around was selling, and Chanel was claiming you're not allowed to sell those. Those are non-sellable items. That's merchandise. Those are props that we utilize in our boutiques. Those are display items, factices. Those are not for sale. You cannot sell those. Now, what goes around comes around with selling them. Pardon me. During the proceedings, one of the lawyers working on behalf of Chanel, Shepard Moulin, partner Theodore Max, said what goes around comes around sold 90 million worth of stuff from Chanel between 2016 and 2022. Now, and remember I was telling you this in the last video, and here they're also stating what I already said. The case was being closely watched due to the potential legal precedents it could set about the burgeoning resale market. It also brought to the surface other nebulous factors tied to pre-owned goods, namely the lack of a legal definition for vintage and the often misuse of the word counterfeit. We often have this debate, what does vintage mean? Some people think that vintage means everything that's 20 years or older. Other people define vintage something that is 30 years or older. There's an ongoing definition, but apparently there's no legal definition to what vintage means. Now, Chanel claims that the stolen bags, of which the serial numbers have been void, are now no longer to be considered authentic, but are counterfeit. Furthermore, Chanel claimed in this lawsuit that several bags that what goes around comes around were selling had serial numbers in them that did not correspond within the Chanel authentication system to the product, to the bag that should have had that serial number to begin with. In other words, let's say they were selling a wallet on chain and the serial number inside the wallet on chain in Chanel's database corresponded to, let's say, a timeless classic double flap. So there was a discrepancy there. Now, this is something that does happen often with counterfeit goods, and I always warn you guys whenever you're showcasing your bags, you showcase your Chanel bag or wallet or any leather good that has an authenticity code on it, do not show publicly that code, because that code is unique to only this piece of bag that you have. And if counterfeiters were to gain access to your code, they can multiply that code. Once they have that code, they can use it and stick it onto other products. So be very, very careful. Never share your authenticity codes from your bags. Okay, so that's something I wanted to say, very important. But so for those products where the authenticity numbers did not correspond to the product in which they were found, if I were a juror, in that case, I would also say, yeah, Chanel, of course you're right. Of course I would. But the fear of the precedent that this might set, you see what the problem is here? Let's say you found in the dumpster a Chanel display for a perfume. One of those little plastic displays that they have with the Chanel logo, and they have the little stand where you can place your perfume bottle. I have a couple of those. I bought them off pre-loved markets, second-hand markets. I have them too. So what if I one day decide to sell that? Well, this sets precedent. Chanel might sue you if you try to sell one of those not for sale display items. Are they allowed to have the right to prevent you from doing so? Well, in this lawsuit, they have set precedent and say, yeah, technically from now on, yes, they have the right to say you're not allowed to sell this. It's shocking. It's shocking. But it gets so much juicier, you guys. It gets so much juicier. Now, they get really so okay. Where is it? One of the head honchos at Chanel was invited to come in and okay, the testimony was given by another central witness for Chanel. Wait, several witnesses. Okay, so here, not a single person who would walk in. Okay. Confused the money. He also references transcript of the key witness, Joyce Green, managing director of Chanel France. When asked if she had come in contact with any information from a customer or retailer being confused since November 2020, Green replied, nothing like that, no. So one of the Chanel people were interviewed and said, no, I've never encountered a customer of Chanel that was confused as to whether or not what goes around comes around is trying to act as Chanel. But Chanel's lawyers are claiming that, well, we're protecting the customer here because the customer is being confused and the customer is dumb and the customer thinks that what goes around comes around is acting as Chanel. And so that's why we're suing. But then they have a person working for Chanel who gave testimony and said, no, I've never encountered a client who thought that what goes around comes around is actually acting as Chanel. And then Chanel was also coming for what goes around comes around because apparently what goes around comes around was also using photos of Coco Chanel herself in their own ad campaigns, whatever kind of ad campaigns that might have been. And so Chanel claims, no, you can't use Coco's image. Now, who owns the rights to the photo taken of Coco Chanel? Iffy and delicate subject. But we have AI nowadays. You just got to type into the AI, generate a picture of a woman that looks like Coco Chanel. Bam, generate it. And then who owns the rights? Not Chanel. But you have a lady that looks like Coco Chanel that you can utilize. Very, very, very sketchy situation. But here's the other testimony. And this one really takes the cake. This one takes the cake. The other witness for Chanel, the executive operations director. You guys, when you hear this, everything will make sense. For us, collectors. For them, maybe a little bit less, but listen to this. Its executive operations director, Joseph Bravo, traveled to New York for 3 court appearances, was also dissected by both sides. In his final appearance, Bravo recanted his prior testimony that had falsely claimed that a zipper on a Chanel handbag imprinted with the zipper manufacturer's name Lampo was not genuine. Let me explain this to you. Vintage Chanel bags, we're talking from the 80s, also some in the 70s, I believe. So when you open a bag and you have, for example, a zipper here, okay? These used to be Lampo zippers. They were labeled Lampo on the zipper. That was the brand that was manufacturing the zippers for Chanel. Okay. This dude, and we know that Lampo used to do zippers for Chanel, among other luxury brands. This dude claimed in his first testimony that Chanel never used Lampo zippers. This is a person who works on a high level at Chanel, had no clue apparently about the heritage of the Chanel brand. Mind-blowing to me how these people even get the job. But then he said, oh yeah, no, sorry, my bad. But they were trying to push forth and saying, oh, look, the bag that what goes around comes around, allegedly. Everything I say in this video, of course, is alleged. That they're selling had a Lampo zipper. So that's a fake bag because Chanel doesn't do Lampo zippers. And then he had to retract. These are Chanel people, you guys. So claimed that the zip on a Chanel handbag imprinted with the zipper manufacturer's name Lampo was not genuine. Bravo also suggested, and here we get to the pièce de résistance, we get to the cherry on top of the cake. Joseph Bravo. Hold on. Let me fix my horns. Because this, honey, oh, this is juicy. He also suggested that the bags... Ooh, you guys. He suggested that the bag's shape was irregular and that the zipper slider, the font size of a Chanel logo, the color of the bag, and the stitching were not right. Oh, now I'm in this. Listen, Mr. Joseph Bravo. Really? Ya don't say. The stitching wasn't right. In other words, are you saying the bag was not authentic? It couldn't have possibly been authentic because the stitching was crooked. And also, are you saying that the bag could not have possibly been authentic because the shape was a little bit off? Are you possibly also implying that perchance the flap of the bag was slightly crooked, Mr. Joseph Bravo? So in other words, you're telling us that every second bag I see whenever I go to a Chanel boutique is not authentic. Because we've been talking about this for years now. Customers have been complaining for years. All you gotta do is go to YouTube, people unboxing their bags, disgracefully unhappy because they're like, oh my God, why is the flap crooked? Why is the stitch off? I had to return Chanel bags. I buy my Chanel bags at Chanel directly, and I return them back to Chanel when I notice that there's a flaw because the stitch is crooked, because the flap is crooked, because the turn lock is attached 0.5 millimeter to the side, hence the upper flap cannot align. When I say to my sales associate, please don't sell me this bag, it's all crooked, the sales associate says it gives the character charm. After all, most of this bag is handmade. So the sales associate at Chanel is trying to convince the customer to buy the crooked stitched bag, that it's fine, it gives the bag charm. And then we got a chief executive's operation officer from Chanel in a court of law telling us, well, because the stitch is crooked and the thing is off, so it cannot be an authentic Chanel bag. But when I go to a Chanel boutique, you try to sell me that crooked bag and you tell me it's authentic. Game of Thrones, baby. Take your clothes off, Mr. Joseph Bravo. Walk naked down the street. Shame. 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 IYKYK. Shame. Shame. I'm telling you, this lawsuit is better than the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp lawsuit. I wish this was televised. To hear them say all this stuff, for us collectors and for us luxury lovers and Chanel lovers, this is so juicy. I wish I had more transcripts. Conversely, during Chanel's closing argument, Dylan Price, a partner at Shepherd Moulin, alleged repeatedly that what goes around comes around had sold counterfeit bags. He also told the jury that the issue at hand is the likelihood of confusion. Interesting that Chanel's lawyer would say the likelihood of confusion is the biggest reason for this lawsuit. What confusion are we talking about? Because quite frankly, as a consumer myself, dear Chanel, I am never confused when I enter a pre-loved store. I'm very well aware that the pre-loved store is not Chanel. What I am confused about, however, is when I enter a Chanel boutique and I see terribly constructed bags, really poverty leather, peeling leather. That's what confuses me. What confuses me about that? Well, for example, the fact that the bag costs $7,000 to $10,000 is allegedly made of leather. The stitches are not aligned. It's stitched crookedly. The flap is misaligned. The leather peels after 20 minutes of wear. And yet, you're telling me that it's totally fine to pay $6,000 to $10,000 for a bag like that. That's what confuses me personally. I don't know about you. That's what confuses me. What doesn't confuse me is understanding that what goes around comes around is its own entity and store and business. And I'm very well aware of the fact, and I am not confused about the fact that what goes around comes around is not the company Chanel. Oh, this lawsuit. I can't. Can you imagine? I mean, no words. I mean, oh my God, juicy. I cannot wait to see the continuation of this because this should be a TV show. This should be a TV show. I want this televised. I want the transcripts. I want all major actors. I want Ryan Murphy to do another version of American Horror Story or Crime Story or whatever, because I mean, they are suing them in New York after all. I want Jessica Lange as the spirit of Coco Chanel returning to haunt all of them. I want Joseph Bravo should be, I don't know. How old should he be? John Malkovich? Anthony Hopkins? I'm thinking, I want major players. I want this show. I want this to be on freaking Netflix. And I want it to have 10 seasons. I want them to milk this till the cows come home. This is juicy. I know only 10 of us would watch, like we're like the geek nerd fanatics of Chanel, but I'm here for it. Ellie says, I'm here for it. Natasha says, that was a scare tactic to make others nervous. Well, but they won. And that means they set precedent. So it's not just a scare tactic. It's real. Oshidi says, the emperor has no quality control. Bingo. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts and prayers down below. Until next time, never forget to never give up on love. Love you loads. Subscribe. Bye.